Hey guys, Zen here, and today we're back with some more Operation Phantom Sight news. There's actually some really big changes coming to a few of the weapons and operators in the game, and so today we're gonna dig in, you dig? Let's work. So first up, I want to talk about the designer's notes. You can expect these updates pretty much every new season, but for Operation Phantom Sight, it's a little different in that, yeah, there are some things happening for Season 2, but a lot that's here is actually coming down the road in future updates. But first up, I want to talk about the new Glaz and how they've reworked him. So Ubisoft supplies some footage of what they'll be changing with Glaz, and just like we saw at the 6 Invitational, his ability to see thermals through his scope is now directly tied to his movement. Basically how this works today, Glaz can see his enemies highlighted bright yellow in basically any situation, whether he's moving or not. Now though, you'll have these two yellow bars on either side of the scope, indicating the level of thermals based on your movement. This is honestly a massive change to this operator and changes him from being an aggressive fragger with the ability to be up close with smoke to more of a long-range support fragger. Make no mistake, Glaz is still made to frag and get kills. That's the whole point of a sniper. Give yourself the advantage in positioning and use your long-range rifle to pick unexpected enemies off. Now yes, I would consider this a nerf to Glaz. Going from always having access to the thermal to now only while he's standing still does limit him, but the OTS still hits incredibly hard, and even though the thermal isn't always on, there's still plenty of opportunity to get kills with this operator without seeing through smoke. Also, this isn't acting as a light switch. It isn't on and then off. Again, you will have that gradual progression until you can no longer see through the smoke, and once you stop moving, you get it back. Now, Glaz's ability has always been unlimited. There's no meter you need to wait for or cooldown or anything. He can just always use the scope, and so balancing him this way really just brings him closer to what he's supposed to be, which is the sniper of Team Rainbow. I look at this nerf actually in a similar way to the most recent nerf slash buff to Caveira with her pistol change. Yeah, it was ultimately a nerf, but it also buffed her up because they changed the bullet drop of her Louisiane's pistol to match other pistols in the game. So some people see this as a buff. Glaz shouldn't be able to always set up a smoke arena and challenge anyone inside with thermal optics. Smoking out and sitting back waiting for defenders to cross his sight and taking advantage of that is how Glaz is being reworked, and at the very least, I'm intrigued to see how Glaz mains perceive this change. So let me know how you feel about the Glaz rework. Now that it's being introduced, do you think it'll make a big difference to this operator, or is he just as lethal as before? Moving on, we get an update on both Smoke and the 2.0 deployable shield. Beginning with Smoke, they'll be taking a page out of Capitão's book and potentially changing Smoke's gas canisters to work in a similar way. So the most recent change to Capitão made his fire spread rapidly but precisely, and it no longer has the issue of clipping through walls and reinforcements. Smoke's gas canisters are still client-side, so they're just inconsistent at best, and they do clip through the geometry of the map. So as we've heard in the past, Smoke will be seeing some upgrades, hopefully soon, but again, this is one of those down the road updates that won't be introduced with Season 2 and Operation Phantom Sight. The last thing they say about Smoke is that they could be adjusting the damage dealt in a future update as well. Now, we're not sure if that means an increase or decrease in damage, but we'll just have to wait and see. Moving on to the deployable shield, we got our first look at this at the Invitational as well, and it's still a work in progress. So for those of you who don't know, the deployable shield will now fit perfectly in doorways with no gaps, alleviating the pixel peak issue, but also they'll have these little slits in them to see through. Prior to this update, they would have been Black Mirror style, where only the defenders could see through and the attackers would be blacked out. But now it's a two-way window, and the attackers will be able to see defenders sitting behind it. Now, just giving my honest opinion, I'm not a huge fan of this new deployable shield, and some of you are aware of this. Of course, I do like that it will now fit better in doorways and people can't really abuse the pixel peaks anymore, but giving it the slits fundamentally changes it to an intel gadget, where I believe it should be a fortification gadget at most. It is an interesting concept though, and who knows, maybe this is just what the deployable needs to be a little bit more meta. But this is also an update for an update, so of course things could change in that time. Next up, some weapon changes. So the Deagle will now have access to the muzzle brake and suppressor. This is a great change. Obviously, anytime a weapon gets more attachments, it opens up more gameplay options to the player. All I'll say is that a silent Deagle sounds deadly, like really deadly. Smoke's FMG9 is receiving the Vortex scope, which is basically the new scope featured on Mozzie's P10 Roni. It's basically a variation of the holographic sight, I'd say with a thinner, taller housing. I really like this scope, and it finally gives Smoke the option to use a holographic-like sight on his main submachine gun, so players like myself that use this sight often may gravitate toward the weapon a little more. Remember, Smoke has access to impact grenades as well, so if you don't bring the shoddy and opt for the FMG9, you still have breach potential. Finally, Additionally, Finka's ability will now cleanse the effects of being affected by an explosion, which Yubi says is for consistency, and that makes sense with this gadget specifically, so a bit of a buff to Finka there as well. Last up here, we have an update on Maverick and shield operators. So they hear the community loud and clear. Maverick is too quiet in some situations. Some audio adjustments may be coming for this operator, but as of now, it's still a little too early to say anything concrete. As for shields, they're still working on making them a little less frustrating to deal with and trying to focus more on team play. The shield operator dilemma is a bit of a strange one to me personally, because I've always felt it's a shield's job to be frustrating to deal with. The shield in itself isn't easy to get past and is the reason these operators don't have powerful weapons in their loadouts. If they make it too easy to deal with shield ops or make them even more reliant on teammates than they already are, it may become too risky and overly situational to pick them. Montagne and Blitz are already some of the least picked ops in the pool, Clash is the least picked op on defense, and there aren't many people using Fuse Shield unless they're really comfortable with the operator, so the balance there is really tricky and it may be some time before they get it just right. But that's the update, guys. Phantom Sight is on its way, and those are some of the things you can expect to change when it does arrive. But what are your thoughts? Is the Glaz rework going to destroy this operator's pick rate? And what about those new deployable shields? Leave it all in a comment down below. If you do enjoy this video, please drop a like and subscribe with notifications if you're new. With that being said, it's been Zen. I'm out.